Hello and welcome to a bedside critique.
Backseat Critique.
Bedseat, yes, because lying in bed. We
watched
did
it from the bedside.
the wonderful patron Josh Oddities, wanted I need to look at this. Is the name? Digging up the Marrow.
I knew very little about the film going into it.
I knew very little as well. I'd never even heard of this, amazingly, before he made me get it. And I am so happy he made me get this and watch this. It is really, really entertaining. Now, I have issues with it, but thank you very much.
I do not have issues with it.
Some things. I'm even not gonna, I'm gonna hold on to this, put this in my collection. Thank you very much.
I thought it was good. It was quite entertaining. The last scene kind of confused me a wee bit, but it was good. I mean, like, there were some things that I would have changed. Like, we decided that we would have changed the time period. But
yeah,
I'll give you a short rundown. It's a meta mockumentary about a horror director and his crew who are contacted by a fan, and he's like, "Oh, monsters are real." And they're like, "Well, of course they are. We'll do a documentary about you." And shit gets really up. Like, I appreciate the fact that you knew going in that this was a horror movie, because once Netflix will recommend documentaries to me, because I watch documentaries on Netflix and I'm interested. And they're like, "Oh, we recommend this documentary." And it's like, oh, it's about, two guys that are investigating, like, a guy that's really into, like, people who are into conspiracy theories. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting, I'll watch this. But then, like, about maybe 40 minutes in, like, 40 to 50 minutes, I'm like, wait a second, this one documentary guy, he's not really following the scientific method. Like, he's really letting his personal bias show. Like, this is really, like, starting to unravel why this is so not professional. And so I Googled it on the IMDb, come to find out it's a horror movie in the style of a documentary. I was like, that's it, done with this. Time to watch Mythbusters.
Yeah, and this one, I don't know, I think that you possibly would have been held in with this for a little while, if you didn't realize it wasn't real. For a little while you probably would have been taken in and think it was a real documentary. Then maybe at the 10-20 minute mark you'd work out that it was fake. I would have worked out it almost immediately, because they cast Ray Wise as the crazy guy, conspiracy theory guy. And, okay.
But Lloyd Kaufman was in it.
Yeah.
For like a second. We're like, it's Lloyd Kaufman.
But I have nothing against Ray Wise. Ray Wise is fine. And he's good in the part, but if you're doing something that you're supposed to convince someone is real, you shouldn't cast a recognizable actor as someone who's not themselves. It doesn't make any sense. If you recognize the actor, you're taken out of the film entirely. Like, just think, Paranormal Activity 1, Blair Witch, whatever, one of the good found footage movies. Just mentally replace any of the cast members with Kilometers Teller, and suddenly
Are you a famous actor, Miles Teller? No, my name is Joe.
Suddenly the film is harder to take, because fake documentaries and found footage films, you have to get into the headspace that it's real. Otherwise they don't work. Otherwise they're completely fucking hilarious by accident.
Well, this was funny on purpose.
Well, yeah, it definitely has the funny elements, but it's also like a horror one as well. So you had to get into the weird Zen-like headspace of convincing your conscious mind that it's real. And it made it much harder with Ray Wise.
Well, part of the premise is that, like, I thought was kind of offensive, and this is why this would have worked really well in the 50s or the 30s, or even maybe a little bit earlier, even maybe the 1910s, like pre-war kind of thing. Because this guy's like, oh, see, you ever wonder when people are more deformed? They show, like, old medical footage of, like, stillbirths that had horrific deformities. And I'm like, I hope that those are, like, case studies from, like, 100 years ago. Because otherwise, that's, like, someone's medical pictures. But, like, yeah, well, the kids just disappear. They don't die. They go down into this marrow and they live in the earth. And I'm like, he's like, that's why you never see people with deformities. I'm like, no, you do. First of all, there are a lot of medical deformities that can be corrected in infancy. Like, even, like, something as simple as, like, a cleft palate. With a good doctor, you won't even, like, see the scar. Like, and second of all, a lot of physical abnormalities do not translate into actual physical disabilities. They're just, a physical thing. And, like, you see people with disabilities like that all the time. It would be like, you ever seen little people? No, you don't. Yes, you do. Like, walking around at the mall, you know? I mean, like...
I think he was talking about ones that particularly really terrible ones that people don't survive childhood.
Oh, like profound physical disabilities.
So it's possible that's what he meant. But yeah, this would have worked better, and you couldn't have done the same documentary style thing if it had been set in the 50s. I suppose what they could have done was had a bunch of stuff in the 50s, some footage, and some interview with a crazy guy, and then you have...
because I could see that, because, like, back in the 50s, that was when you had, like, the homes, like, well, the Magdalens in Ireland, you had, like, those, like, home for wayward girls, where basically, if you got pregnant out of wedlock young, they would just send you off there to have your child. And actually, that would be a pretty good spin on it. It's in the 50s, and it's these, like, nearly middle-aged women, you know, who had been 10 years previous, you know, in the 40s during the war, in one of these homes, you know, let's say that they, you know, were from some certain town that had a mine and had a high exposure to toxic chemicals, so all of their babies were born horribly disfigured, and now they're like, now they want to find the truth. That would be a good angle.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the modern day sort of stuff. It could have been the guys investigating, you know, discovering these old tapes or whatever, and sort of, you know, doing more of a investigative thing rather than a let's go and hang around it, talk at a hole for a while. Because a lot of the film is they go into this sort of wooded area beside a cemetery,
in a park in California,
and just look into a hole and talk about the hole, because the hole is fascinating. The hole is all.
They could have just got a drone, and like a flying drone with a camera on it, and sent it down there.
And of course, inside,
just like in Pyramid,
inside the hole is a bunch of really, well, the film calls them monsters, so for shorthand,
yeah,
monsters all live there. And this is my second issue with the film, apart from the casting of Ray Wise. This is Nightbreed.
I've never seen Nightbreed, so...
No, and they have a bunch of horror and sort of, you know, cult film people turning up. Some of them appear in the film talking about what's going on in the film, like Kane Hodder and Mick Garris and on Tom Holland. No one points out, dude, the crazy man is ripping off Nightbreed by Clive Barker. They could have had Clive Barker being all like, yeah, this guy's obviously read my book or something. Or you could have had the crazy guy being all like, that son of a bitch, Clive Barker, I talked to him in the early 80s and he just turned it into a fucking book and then into a movie and made it look ridiculous. He could have done that, because it's the same fucking thing!
The concept is as old as anything else. You know, like, we leave children who are like this, we leave them out in the woods to die of exposure, beaten by wolves or something.
It's very particular in Nightbreed, because it's a secret society of people who are born with disabilities, who also give them abilities. They go together and they congregate in this one particular place, and they have their own society, and they try to avoid the outside world, and they fuck with them. It's like, this is like Nightbreed from outside in.
This must have been before all that legislation got passed, because when I worked in a call center many years ago, we had a high rate of attrition because working in the call center sucks. We didn't know where to get new people, and apparently one of the bosses at the call center said to somebody else, you know, one of the other bosses, you know what we need to do? We need to call up the Office for the Vocation for the Disabled, because disabled people really want to work. They want to work, but nobody will hire them. So if we want really, really dedicated workers, we should hire some disabled folks. And they did. They did hire some disabled folks. And guess what? Those people rose to be team leaders within a few months. This one girl, she was a little person, and she was so small of stature she had to have a walker, you know, just to get around. And she had, like, several business degrees, but nobody would hire her because she was a little person. And just the whole, like, again, the whole disability law kind of, like, you know, and that whole thing just kind of clashes in my mind. I guess, like, I would have liked it a lot better if this was about the past.
Yeah. That's one reason. That could have been budgetary, though. Plus, trying to do a mockumentary set in another time period is practically impossible.
I could pull it off.
Not really.
I could write a book that pulled it off.
Yeah, but it's not a mockumentary then.
No, it would be.
What you would have to do a mockumentary, you'd have to set up the entire scene of looking like it's the 50s, looking and feeling like with all the.
No, you just interview old people.
Yeah, if you do a retroactive one, but if you're doing stuff that's actually filmed set in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to do at least some of that.
Yeah. No, I thought you meant if they were in the present now, like looking at the past.
Oh, yeah, if that's how I would handle Adam Green's connection to it. They investigate this stuff that happened in the past, and they find old footage.
Yeah.
But you can't. even in the 50s, you didn't have the mobile cameras that we have now, so it would be more formalized sit-down interviews. Easier to handle than, the, ooh, look, filming everything type stuff, because then you're like, you got to make sure everything is perfect, because otherwise you're like, oh no, we put the camera 2 millimeters over, and now we can see an iPod.
Well, why do you examine your shot? That's why you have a... What's the person that notices discrepancies?
Set dresser?
Yeah, you have one of them. Or me being like, look at that sink. What's wrong with the sink? I want that sink in their kitchen. Well, something is like clawing onto some woman's head and like sucking her brain out, and she's screaming and blood's coming out of all of her orifices. I'm like, can we have a sink like that? I want that sink. This is a true... What was it, Insidious? Did I like the kitchen sink?
Insidious 2 was terrible.
It was Insidious 2. Oh, but I want their house.
But,
It was a great sink, you guys. What?
This has really encouraged me to try and get a copy of Nightbreed, because I've been deliberately holding off and getting a copy because I want the director's cut, but it's only out in Region 1 in fucking Blu-ray. We don't have multi-region Blu-ray players, so I can't get it. It's like, so please, release the Cabal cut of Nightbreed, either on DVD or Blu-ray over here, so I can get a copy.
Audience, you get right on that.
I've only ever seen the bastardized version that Clive Barker hated, because, this is a fucking companion piece. It's the same society from an alternate angle.
The guy seemed like a nice guy, but he kind of acted like a dick. So I wondered. The thing says yellow film, yellow battery.
No, that's not the battery. That is memory left.
Okay.
We have 5 minutes left of memory. We're okay.
Oh well. So anyway, actually, yeah, the guy acted like kind of a dick, but I'm hoping that he was acting like himself, acting like a dick, and not.
Yeah, he. Almost definitely.
No, it is the battery. We have 5 minutes left of battery. The thing is underneath. Make sure it's plugged in, please.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I apologize.
I was right.
I get to smack my hand.
Ah! Don't make that noise. So anyway, so now we can go for as long as we want. Patron, you're really the intermission.
I've seen several of Adam Green's films. I keep wanting to call him Adam Smith, but that guy was
on the front it says, from the maker of Hatchet and Frozen, and I was like, let it go?
Yeah, I was like, I don't think it's that Frozen, but
you said the
that
best
would
thing
be awesome.
during the movie, though.
Yes, I wonder how many people have accidentally picked up copies of Adam Green's Frozen thinking it was a Disney one.
Mommy, why are they dying? Where's Elsa?
Why are they being frozen and they're wolves? Because that's one of the ones I have seen. I have seen his Frozen. I was like, it's like Frozen, what does that mean? Oh, the one with the chair lift! And the wolves, which was fine, and, the Hatchet movies are fine. He's not one of my favourite, horror directors, but definitely not shit.
Oh, and the part with the guy from Guar.
Yeah,
apparently he worked with him on his sitcom.
I didn't know he had a sitcom until I watched this, but yeah, the Odorous Humongous from Guar saying that I'm a monster now, I will be a monster when I die, and it's like, oh, you're dead now.
When I die, I'll be a dead monster.
Yeah, and it's
I was like, oh, because he died.
Yeah, this came out in 2014.
Yeah.
This must have been filmed very soon before he died.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
That might have been. They mentioned the wiki is another reason why season 3 of his thing. Apparently, they're going to do another season of his sitcom. Yeah,
one of the subplots in this is the director is spending all of his time working on this project, and so his sitcom is falling by the wayside, which he writes, directs, and acts
in. But apparently in real life there were lots of reasons why that happened. So.
And apparently it did fall to the wayside.
Because I looked it up. But they just announced in July that they're going to do a 3rd season that will air in 2016, so there you go. Mm-hmm. Go watch that.
And these guys are so brilliant or so terrible at advertising, because absolutely everyone, whether there's a reason for it or not, are wearing T-shirts connected to his films.
I'm pretty sure that's deliberate.
Oh yes, I'm sure it's
like maybe that's a rule. If you work for his production team, you have to wear their T-shirts. Like all the time.
I know it's definitely deliberate, but yet people who had no reason to be like, hello, Kane Hodder's coming in to talk for some reason. Hello, I was Jason Voorhees. I'm looking at this footage. I'm wearing a Frozen T-shirt, even though I wasn't in that film. Bye bye.
Maybe they were like, hey, so while you're cameoing with a T-shirt, yeah, sure, kid, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you know that Lloyd Kaufman will turn up in pretty much anything if he can talk about Tromaville and toxic culture.
That's because Lloyd's awesome.
He is the one-man self-promotion machine. Like, we went to Troma Dance, this, like, wee little film festival they did. in a bowling alley in the ghetto of Asbury Park, New Jersey. This was years ago.
Awesome.
And he was just like, if anyone wants to talk to me, just come on outside. I'm going to be there with taxis, just standing around. So I go out there with my phone, and I was like, excuse me, my friend has an internet radio show that he's been doing for, like, over 10 years. Do you think you could do a promo for him? And I had to do, like, he did, like, 15,000 takes, because he kept forgetting the name of Radio Dead Air. But I finally got a good promo. I was like, I can edit and post somewhere. But, like, basically, he's like, you should listen to Radio Dead Air. Just like the Toxic Avenger here in Tromaville. Let me tell you more about me. I'm Lloyd Kaufman. I'm like... And then I tweeted at Ash, like, I have a present for you. You might not want it, but I have one for you.
And they did one for me, which LC got.
It's right here. I fixed it.
Which LC got, which ended up being re-edited, because he kept fucking up my name and stuff. So I re-edited it, and it's in the Maniac Nurses Find Ecstasy review, and that's the origin of that.
Yeah, but yeah, so this was a good movie. I mean, it was fairly entertaining. Mm-hmm. A little bit of documentary, a little bit of, well, I can't really call it found footage. But.
The monsters were quite often shit, though.
Yeah.
I am really sorry about that, but it is really. Okay, when you're doing animatronic and prosthetic...
Oh, the good thing was like, look, we saw a monster. I was like, oh, that looks kind of good. Who did that work for you? Like, no, it's real.
Everyone was all like, yeah, that looks really good. That's amazing sort of special effects work. I'm like, nah, that's a B at best.
Maybe they were just saying that to encourage him because he was a young idiot.
But then they have, okay, when you're doing animatronic monsters and stuff, you need to shoot them from a particular angle, otherwise it doesn't work. It doesn't look good. One of the benefits of CGI for filmmakers is it allows them to shoot from any angle. Well, animatronics, you have to plan well in advance where the camera is going to be, how, everything about it, so you can shoot the monster from that angle so it works. The Thing, John Carpenter's one, part of the reason it's so good with its animatronics and stuff is because he had like a year and a half pre-production where you could work everything out. Mm. And so that's why it's so good. Well, this one, it's a found footage movie, so it's a documentary with little bits of found footage, where they're going like that all the time, and then as a result, quite often when you see a monster come in, it's at a really bad angle for it, so it looks fucking hilarious.
Just had the guy walk around with a steady camera the whole time. I'm sure he would have loved that.
Yeah, but then it would have been unnaturally
thing
for it. They either had making it look good or making it look real, and they went for real. But one of the tiny one looked like Slimer.
It did. One thing that I could have done, well, you know me, I could have done with more story-wise is that, like, oh, his guy's named William Deckard. He said, I'm a former Boston. He said he was born in New Hampshire or Connecticut or somewhere in New England, but he did have a New England accent. Maybe, like, the actor couldn't do a New England accent. Like, oh, yeah.
Why don't they just change it to where he was actually from?
Like Illinois or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he really had a neutral American accent. And then they were like, oh, he was a Boston police officer. Like, we've never heard of him. And, like, he's like, excuse me, can I ask you about your neighbor? Oh, that house has been abandoned for a year. I'm thinking then, like, how did you miss all of those film crews hanging out there for the past 2 weeks? Or maybe she just figured, like, they were looking at the house to have it renovated or something.
Yeah, but he's been there for 4 years, he said.
Yeah. She's like, oh, that house has been vacant for a year. There was like, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to get really interesting. And then that whole part of it was dropped. Like you said, there was a wife, but she was out of the picture. He had a son, like, you're assuming he had a son who was born deformed, who went off to be these monsters, that he's been pursuing around the country.
But what was in the basement is, this is
yeah, but like, if he was going down to feed the thing in the hole, what was he keeping? Because he had a locked room that he was keeping something in.
Yeah, this...
Like, I could have done with an epilogue of... We called the police, and here's what they found, and here's the most likely thing. I turned to the internet, and someone on Reddit commented, and they gave me all this mysterious information, but then they deleted their account, and I can't trace their ISP. That would have been cool. That would have been a cool little epilogue.
They're probably going for a Lovecraftian thing, when dealing with the mysterious, never explain. It didn't quite work in this area.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to explain, but just give tantalizing little bits. Like, there's this woman in Texas, and Google this, because this is real. There's actually a website, a web group of people devoted to finding out who she was. That, like, she married this guy, but the guy's family didn't like her very much, and she had it's pretty probable she had some kind of mental illness, and she finally passed away. I forget if it was a suicide or she died of natural causes or something, but they found this lockbox that had been at the top of her closet with, like, like an identity that wasn't hers, and they went to the police. They found out that her identity started a few years before she met her husband. The other identity started, 10 years before that. But they've been trying to find out who this woman is and where she originally came from. And it's kind of creepy and it's kind of mysterious. I mean, I'm sure it's something really innocent, like she was mentally ill and, you know, or she was a past victim of some kind of, like, assault and she wanted to change her identity. Fair enough, but, like, it's one, and I check up on it every so often. I forget her name, just to see if they found out who she is, but it's like one of those things, like one of those, like, mysterious things that someone brings up on a forum. And there's always the one troll that has to give little teeny bits of really intriguing information and then delete their account or just, like, never come back to it and never log in again. So, like, you could have gone for, like, almost like a Candle Cove kind of creepypasta angle at the end, which wouldn't be weird because it's from last year, this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I would have done. I'm just saying. If you would have done the same, write the show. It was good, though.
I'm going to bring up a comparison to another film from one that's not Nightbreed. Prometheus.
Nightbreed.
Prometheus. Prometheus, like this, gives you lots of red herrings and lots of tantalizing sort of other things that are going on, but they never explain any of them.
Oh.
You know, like the thing in the basement, the thing with the son, the thing with the wife at some point. All these little things that are said with the indication that they're, the fact that he may have been lying about being a police officer. All these things that you expect are going to come up again.
I was a private detective, Dick. And I'm like, no, you said I was a detective with the police department. And also, like, private detectives, really, aren't part of the police force. Like, if you were affiliated with a department, they'd be like, oh yeah, I work with this guy, but you can't say you're a cop if you were a private dick.
Yeah.
Although he did try to gaslight him several times. I noticed that. He was like, they were like, oh, did you talk to any other Hollywood directors about this? And he's like, no, I never have. I totally never have. And then they were like, what did we ask you about yesterday? He's like, I said that I shopped it around too many people. Like, no, that's not what you said. So he did try to gaslight him a few times.
Well, I'm just saying, there's a lot of these little things that you expect are going to come up and be answered, but they're not. Like Prometheus. And, the Prometheus has other issues with it on top of that. It was just a funny parallel / a little bit irritating. But, good film.
And all in all, it was good, but I rather would have read the book. Because it would have more information.
I don't think there is a book.
No, but I meant, like, if they're,
Adam Green, if you watch the show, write a book.
Yeah. Get on that, man.
Yeah. But digging up the Marrow, not that expensive. Check it out.
And pretend that it was in the 30s or the 1910s about vaudeville.
Yeah. Double feature with Nightbreed.
Nightbreed. I don't know why I keep saying it that way. See, like, it reminded me of, like, the death stills that they used reminded me a lot of, like, the stuff from the Minu Museum.
Yeah.
And, like, that whole kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so very atmospheric, very good,
Thank you, Josh.
Good job. Good job, Josh.
Thank you for suggesting this film, which I really enjoyed.
And now we're going to get takeaway.